Imagine a world without pants. Weird, right? Jeans, leggings, slacks, cargo, joggers, whatever form they take, pants are such a basic part of modern life that we rarely stop to wonder, why these? Why did humans, at some point in history, decide to cover their legs with fabric tubes? Because for most of early human history, we didn't. Skirts, tunics, robes, and draped cloth were the norm in many ancient cultures. So what changed? Why did pants become the go-to garment in so many societies? Was it practicality? Modesty? A military innovation? A gendered shift? Today, we're going deep into the dusty crossroads of history, fashion, function, and culture to find out why pants became the dominant human legwear. From skins to structure, early clothing basics. To understand the rise of pants, we first need to rewind thousands of years to the basics. Why wear clothes at all? Early humans wore whatever materials were available: animal skins, grasses, bark fibers. To protect themselves from cold, sun, wind, and rough terrain. Most early garments were draped or wrapped rather than tailored. Think loose robes, tunics, and loincloths. Why? Because sewing is complex. It requires tools, technique, and a lot more time. Draping was easy, adaptable, and worked in warmer climates where ventilation was more valuable than insulation. So for a long time, pants weren't needed, or even thought of. But then came two major shifts: riding and fighting. The rise of riders, mobility meets function. The real game changer? Horses. Around 3000 BC, people on the Central Asian steppes began domesticating horses for transportation, herding, and eventually, warfare. Here's the problem: riding a horse in a tunic or robe? Not great. It chafes. It bunches. It exposes. Basically, it's a logistical nightmare. Enter the invention of bifurcated garments, aka pants. The earliest clear evidence of tailored pants comes from Western China, around 1200 BC. Archaeologists discovered wool trousers on Bronze Age horse riders buried in the Darim Basin. These pants were functional, with a straight-legged design and crotch gussets, essentially custom-built for riding. For nomadic cultures like the Scythians, Persians, and later the Mongols, pants became essential. They allowed for mobility, protection, and speed, advantages crucial in both hunting and warfare. So while robes still dominated in cities and ceremonial life, on the frontier, pants meant survival. The warrior's wardrobe. Once pants proved their worth in battle, they spread quickly, especially among soldiers. Greek and Roman armies initially scoffed at pants. In Rome, they were considered barbaric, associated with the uncivilized tribes of the north. But practical needs have a way of reshaping fashion. As Roman forces expanded into colder, more rugged parts of Europe, Gaul, Britannia, Germania, they found that tunics and sandals didn't hold up well in snow. So Roman soldiers adopted brachy, loose-fitting trousers from the Gauls. They might have started as military gear, but over time, they caught on with civilians too. This pattern, practical utility first, followed by widespread adoption, is a recurring theme in fashion history. From armor to athleisure, if it works, it spreads. Gender, power, and pants. For much of history, pants weren't just a garment, they were a symbol. They became associated with action, conquest, and control, activities traditionally tied to masculinity in many cultures. As a result, women wearing pants was taboo for centuries in many parts of the world. In Europe, for example, pants were seen as inherently male. Women who wore them, like Joan of Arc, were often punished or ridiculed. Even in the 19th and early 20th centuries, when women began advocating for more practical clothing, they faced backlash. Early feminists and suffragists like Amelia Bloomer promoted bloomers, a kind of baggy pant/skirt hybrid. But were often mocked in the press. It wasn't until the mid-20th century, with wartime factory work, changing norms, and fashion icons like Katharine Hepburn and Marlene Dietrich, that pants became broadly accepted for women. So while pants might seem neutral today, their history is deeply gendered, and tied to power dynamics over who gets to move freely, ride, fight, or lead. Climate, culture, and regional style. Interestingly, not every society embraced pants equally. In warmer climates, like the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia, loose, flowing garments remained common. Robes, tunics, sarongs, and skirts allowed for airflow and made more sense in hot, humid weather. In contrast, colder or more rugged environments pushed cultures toward leg coverings for warmth and protection. So geography mattered, but so did politics and identity. For example, in imperial China, Han Chinese elites often favored robes, while steppe nomads like the Xiongnu and later the Manchus wore trousers. When the Manchu Qing dynasty took power, they imposed their pant-wearing dress codes on the population as a form of control. In other words, pants were sometimes a political statement. Pants and the modern world. By the 1800s, pants were fully cemented as the dominant garment for men in the Western world. Industrialization demanded more durable, practical clothing. Enter denim, work pants, uniforms, and slacks, garments designed for labor, structure, and repeatability. Then came the 20th century, and the great fashion loosening. World wars forced gender roles to shift. Women entered the workforce, wore pants, and didn't want to go back to corsets and dresses after. Hollywood glamorized tailored pants. Designers experimented. Streetwear rose. Athleisure exploded. Today, pants come in every cut, fabric, and purpose imaginable, suiting up or dressing down, made for speed or comfort, performance or style. And most people in the world own at least one pair. So, why pants? Because function met fashion. Because utility met identity. Because sometimes the clothes that endure are the ones that let us move. Final thoughts. The story of pants is more than just a tale about clothes. It's a story about how humans adapt. It's about invention in the face of new challenges, riding animals, going to war, working in factories, expanding into new climates. It's about how what we wear is shaped by what we do, and who we're allowed to be. And it's also a story about power. For centuries, pants were associated with control, with leadership, with masculinity. It took long fights, shifting economies, and waves of cultural resistance for everyone to claim their right to wear what works for them. And isn't that the beauty of it? Today, whether you're in jeans or joggers, trousers or techwear, your pants carry a legacy of movement, rebellion, and redefinition. And maybe that's the best reason we still wear them. They reflect who we are. A species in motion, constantly reshaping its world and its wardrobe. If this gave you a new appreciation for the most overlooked part of your outfit, hit like, subscribe, and share it with that one person who still swears by cargo shorts. Got a favorite fact about fashion history, or a wild theory about where pants came from? Drop it in the comments. Until next time, stay curious. And yes, wear something comfortable.